You ever wake up coffee in hand, sun coming up over the lake and think, man, this is finally at peace at last? That's how my day started. How it ended. Well, let's just say if you'd told me the HOA president would try to evict me from my own dock and wind up losing her beloved boat in front of the whole neighborhood, I'd have spit that coffee all over my porch. But that's exactly how it happened. Buckle up. It was one of those glassy water mornings, blue sky, a light breeze. I was on my dock legs dangling, just soaking in that rare kind of quiet that comes with being your own man on your own piece of earth. Then here she comes. Karen in a sun hat, big enough to cast shade over the entire lake, marching down like she's General Patton with a clipboard. She's waving a folder so thick it could stop a bullet. Jack, you have 24 hours to vacate this dock or face heavy fines. Right to my face. My dock, the one I built by hand, every board, every nail, every sunrise sweat stain. I sipped my coffee and let her rant. Because what Karen didn't know, and what made me smile right through her little tirade, was that in about an hour, her whole world was about to tip over. See, Karen didn't know that while she was plotting to take my dock, I'd been busy learning how to take her boat. But let me back up a sec. Name's Jack 58, semi-retired. Been working construction and scraping through life for over 3 decades. Raised 2 kids, buried my dreams under blueprints and paychecks. Until I finally bought myself a lakeside place. Not the biggest, not the fanciest, but it was mine, the dock. That was my castle, my church, my front porch, my slice of freedom. I figured the neighbors would be the cherry on top. You know, the type folks who wave when you drive by, let you borrow a wrench, maybe bring over a pie after a good day's fishing. That's what I pictured. Instead, what I got was Karen. Mid-40s overdressed, stomping around like she runs the Navy lipstick, loud enough to scare off coyotes in a voice that could break glass 2 counties over. She was the queen bee of the HOA, and she ruled with a stack of violation notices and a glare that could wilt paint. Her house, a shrine to herself, biggest on the block. Out front, her pride and joy, a boat so shiny it looked like it belonged in Miami Beach, not a sleepy little lake town. She paraded that thing every weekend, parked it inches from my dock, sometimes close enough I'd hear it bump at night like the boat itself was trying to pick a fight. Life before Karen easy. Old Bob grilling next door, the Martins sharing their pies. Nobody cared if your lawn got a little wild. But Karen, she made it her mission to break anyone who didn't kneel to her little fiefdom. What put a target on my back? Simple. I built my dock without asking her permission. But I had county permits, inspector signatures, the whole 9 yards. Didn't matter to Karen. If she didn't bless it, it was a violation of community standards. She wanted to make an example of me. Thing is, I've stood my ground on rougher job sites than any HOA meeting. You learn quick bullies bark loud, but they back down when you stand firm. To me, the dock was more than wood and water. It was peace a lifetime earned, a reward I wasn't about to let go. Every morning, coffee and quiet. Every evening, legs swinging over the edge, watching the sun burn gold across the lake. My grandson would come by, wanting to learn to tie knots or skip stones. That dock was my sanctuary. That's what Karen threatened a man's peace. Most neighbors didn't even like her. They nodded sure, but you could see the eye rolls as soon as her back turned. Still, nobody wanted to be the one to cross her. She thrived on fear, and honestly, she had a real talent for making people's lives hell. But not me. I wasn't wired for that. Her first official shot, a fat yellow envelope in my mailbox. Notice unauthorized structure must be removed in 30 days. Signed Karen HOA President. She might as well have signed it, Her Royal Highness. I laughed out loud. That dock was county-approved, stamped, sealed, legal as sunrise. This wasn't about the rules, it was about control. And Karen needed to learn I wasn't so easy to push. I didn't storm over and wave my paperwork, that's what she wanted. Instead, I folded that letter up, slipped it in my pocket, and waited. Of course she couldn't wait. That very afternoon, she struts up, boat-gleaming hair perfectly curled. "Jack," she says, "I trust you got my notice." I nod. "You have 30 days. Fines begin after that." I shot back. "You gonna drag it into the lake yourself?" She smiled like a cat with a canary heels clicking away like she'd already won. But that's the moment I knew this wasn't about community or aesthetics or safety. This was Karen flexing, picking a fight for everyone to see. Days passed, tension rising, and every morning I braced for some new escalation. A spray-painted violation sign maybe, or the sound of her boat's engine at dawn, revving like a warning. But instead, she started working the neighborhood, whispering to folks at the mailbox, pointing toward my place. Unsafe dock. Jack's not following the rules, like a kid spreading rumors in middle school. I watched the suspicion bloom. Neighbors looked at me different, not angry, just wary. Final straw. One night, Karen's boat was tied so close to my dock I could reach out and tap it with my fishing rod. I yanked my line free, cursing under my breath, and I swear I heard her laughing from her porch. That was it. Annoyance turned to resolve. This was a bully's game, and it was time to push back. Karen escalated. Letters stacked up: failure to maintain aesthetics, improper lawn edging, unapproved furniture. Fines racked up $50, $75, $100. She weaponized her boat, circling my dock, blocking my kayak. I'd walk down ready to fish, only to find her floating throne practically moored to my boards. When I asked for space, she'd lift her glass and laugh. "It's a community lake, Jack. Take it up with the HOA. Yeah, that happened." Next thing I know, a sheriff's deputy's at my door. Anonymous tip about an unsafe dock. The deputy bounced on the board, shrugged, and said, "Jack, this thing's sturdier than most county bridges. Sorry to waste your time." I didn't need a detective to know who Anonymous was. The neighborhood split, some quietly rooting for me, others ducking their heads, a handful kissing Karen's ring. The next HOA meeting, Karen strutted in with her clipboard, called me out by name, waving photos of my dock like a prosecutor. Unsafe, unsightly, a hazard to property values. I got up, slid my permits across the table. County signed, all legal. Karen didn't even look. Legal doesn't always mean compliant with community standards. She wanted obedience, not facts. What really got under my skin was her hypocrisy. I started reading the HOA bylaws cover to cover, buried in the legalese. All watercraft must be registered with both the HOA and the county. Guess whose boat didn't have a single registration on file at the county clerk's office? That's right, Karen's pride and joy, the Miami yacht. Turns out her dock extension wasn't approved either. Never saw her name in the board minutes once. And Bob, my quiet neighbor, tipped me off. Karen had been tying her boat on HOA land, not her own lot. That's 3 violations for the queen herself. I documented everything: photos, measurements, timestamps. The more I dug, the more the power shifted. For the first time, Karen was on shaky ground. When I mentioned her unregistered boat in passing, her face twitched just for a second. She played it cool, but the armor had cracks. But of course, bullies double down when they sense control slipping. Karen delivered a final notice, hand-delivered, right between the porch boards. Eviction of dock structure. She called an emergency HOA meeting. Flyers on every mailbox. The whole community turned up. Karen in a red blazer, fire engine lipstick, voice booming. She waved photos, demanded legal action to remove my dock. The room was electric. Some nodded, others grumbled. Old Bob spoke up. "That dock's sturdier than most bridges around here. Jack's done nothing wrong." Karen glared. "This isn't about one dock, Bob. It's about order." That was my cue. I walked to the front, binder in hand, and calmly laid out her own violations. Unregistered boat, unapproved dock, misuse of HOA property. The room gasped. Karen's face went pale. She sputtered. "This is a distraction. The issue is Jack's dock." But I pressed on, voice low. "No, Karen. The issue is your hypocrisy." The spell broke. Neighbors murmured. Her loyalist looked away. And that's when the knock came at the door. Two guys in polo shirts, Marine Tow Company. We're here for the boat impound. Dead silence. Karen screamed, pleaded, tried to block them, but it was all over. Her beloved boat, the symbol of her power, was towed out of the neighborhood with half the town watching. The queen was dethroned. Neighbors clapped me on the back, laughing, relieved. Even Bob handed me a beer and said, "You didn't just win, Jack. You knocked the crown right off her head." Karen tried to claw her way back, filing appeals, calling meetings nobody showed up to, but it was done. The board voted her out. Her boat impounded, dock flagged for removal, reputation in tatters. Life returned to peace. The Martins brought over a pie. Bob grinned as we fixed his grill. The neighborhood breathed again. And Karen, she'd walk by sometimes, head down, no clipboard. Power's funny, it evaporates once folks realize it was never real to begin with. So what did I learn? Bullies don't win forever. They rise on fear. But all it takes is one person calling their bluff. I kept my dock and I got my peace back. If you're dealing with a Karen in your life at work, at home, or anywhere, don't let yourself be cowed. Strength comes from standing firm, knowing the rules better than the tyrant, and sometimes just outlasting the storm. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever gone head-to-head with a bully HOA boss neighbor? How'd it go? Drop your story in the comments below. And if you got a kick out of this showdown, hit like, subscribe, and join the community, because trust me, the next chapter is just around the corner.